Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at industrysyndicate.com and mindshare101.com. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 37. So with more than 25 years of national and international experience in brand management, market research, new product development, earned media, PR, and advertising, my guest today incorporates a fresh approach to marketing. Speaking of, she's the Vice President of Marketing for Century 21 Canada and is responsible for leading and strategizing brand initiatives, all aimed at helping C21 network members build their business and be successful in the real estate industry. She has also been responsible for implementing the new brand identity for C21 in the Canadian market, revitalizing every touch point of the entire brand experience, and has been with the company since April 2015. She loves to fish, she boxes, she runs, and she hosts the odd push-up challenge. And overall, she is always a lot of fun to be around. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome the one and only Chiyoko Kakino, Vice President of Marketing for Century 21 Canada, to the Mindshare Podcast. Chiyoko, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks, David. That was quite the introduction, so thank you.
Well,
you knew you were going to surprise me.
Well, I'm always doing something, but it's easy to put a smile on your face because you're always smiling, and I love it. I love it. It's amazing. No, it's amazing. I seriously, I thank you so much for your time today. I know how busy you are. I know all the stuff you've been up to, and I know how much work we have ahead of us. So this is a good thing. But I thought since you're currently in the midst of a sort of massive brand overhaul that we could talk more about how you've gone about that, the experience of it all, what it really takes to make it happen. And then although you're doing it for a massive brand, I want to dive deeper into sort of, well, for everybody watching, like watching us live, listening to the recording, I want to get into what realtors should be watching out for and planning to do when they have the thought and ultimately decide to make an update to their own brand. So I guess I might sort of start us off a little bit, and just because, C21, and I mean, the affinity we have there, what do you believe led to Century 21 deciding that it was time for a brand refresh? And again, keeping in mind, we're thinking, we're putting our realtor shoes, our realtor hat on and kind of going, what if I thought I wanted to do that?
Sure.
So people started there.
Yeah. So as you know, David, that decision came from C21 Global.
Absolutely.
And because, of course, it affects 81 countries. But, putting myself in their shoes, and I've done this before in other brands, is that when you have a brand that's been around for such a long time, so Century 21 has been around for about 43 years in Canada, you always want to constantly kind of rejuvenate your brand, right? And make sure that it's relevant to the marketplace, to the people in your company. And number of companies always do that. If you take a look at any companies, and some of the brand transformations, are way more popular than others. But if you look at Starbucks' original brand and you look at their brand now, they have gone through a number of different changes. So it's always making sure that you stay contemporary and relevant. And so I think that over the 43 years that Century 21 has been around, and of course in the States it's been around a few more years than that, they looked at the brand and said, okay, and over the last, let's just say 45 years, they've only gone through 3 minor adaptations to the logo.
Wow.
And, if you're not constantly reinventing yourself, then you tend to look a little bit more dated, right? Fonts get dated, colors get dated. We all know that because we all know fashion. I think they wanted to make sure that the brand had stood kind of the test of time and made sure that we were moving forward into the future, not always kind of resting on our laurels. So, looking at that, they decided to revitalize the brand. And so they decided to update the brand identity and the word mark and the whole color palette and the fonts and everything, the whole visual identity system.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, it looks great, and I know. I mean, we've been playing in the marketing game for about 14 years now, and so for us, we've seen a lot of different brands, a lot of different logos. We've watched people come and go in terms of updating. I mean, a lot of the corporate stuff we've done in the past for a lot of the banks. Um, you look at what it takes to really do that, and I mean, this is sometimes we see major overhauls, sometimes we see like minor little tweaks to maybe a font, maybe a style, maybe maybe it's a color, but it takes a lot of time and effort to really think about that, especially when you talk. Well, how many countries did you say? 81?
81 countries, yeah.
Wow.
I
Right. So
know.
when you're going to go and implement something like that, this is not just me changing the color of my hat.
Right,
This is literally taking that and really going through and going, how is this going to affect the perception that people have of us? How is it going to affect, what are the colors? What is the logo?
right.
What is the word? What is the font? Is it, I mean, hey, call it what it is, but in some parts of the world, or maybe to some people, certain things mean something different. And I mean, to put it simple, right? So it's, again, looking at these little things and saying, how is it going to affect the overall brand image? So I think a lot of times when people are going to go down this road, it's you've got to really dig deep and go, why am I doing this? And not just jump into it. And much the same, I don't think it's one of these things that happens overnight. I think you've really got to sleep on it, because the more you change that brand, especially when it's drastic, that's you're not creating that, well, pardon me, but that mind share where there's that instant recollection about something, right?
Right.
So I guess on that then, how long did it take from when maybe at least Canada, we heard about this in terms of like we being you guys, but
Hmm.
the idea of kind of going, it's an idea. Okay, we're thinking about doing this. This is a concept, and we've now got to execute on this. What was that sort of process? What does that look like?
Right. Well, the process was really fast.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
yeah, one of the sayings they have is like dream big and move fast. So they dreamt big and they moved fast on this one. So,
Okay.
it's about probably 2 years ago, they started getting the countries involved and just kind of determining what the brand stood for and kind of what the brand essence is and the brand story. Because, as you say, if you're looking at kind of rebranding yourself or revitalizing your own personal brand, you kind of want to do a self audit first, right? So that's what they did. And they got some information back from, the different countries. Of course, Canada was one of those countries that was able to participate in that process. And then from developing kind of like a brand blueprint, they came up with the brand identity. So, and then looking at every kind of touch point and how you can bring that identity to life. So when they actually communicated that they were updating the brand identity was probably about 18 months ago. And of course, with the power of the internet, everybody knew quite quickly within a few days, all of our Canadian C21 family members knew about the change, and everyone was really, really excited. So everyone started jumping on board, which kind of threw us into a little bit of a tizzy.
Now you really got to move.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that they were using the brand identity word marks properly, the design marks. We wanted to make sure that they understood the brand guidelines and they had the proper logos for their brokerages. So we had to quickly put kind of a starter package together because the demand to start implementing this in their markets was so high from the Canadian markets. And I don't know what the response was from other countries, but Canadians really rallied around this brand identity change. And so it's been quite a big process. And as you just mentioned, right, it's not as easy as just, changing a logo on your social media account or, updating your a cover image. There's a lot of tangible hard costs to this brand identity change. And so that's one of the things that you have to consider as you go through that. Is the benefit of revitalizing or updating your brand worth the cost to do that? And, I truly believe in the Century 21 system because the logo was dated, it's fully worth the cost of bringing the brand up to today's market and what's relevant to consumers today, so we can move forward and we can continue to be leaders in the real estate industry.
Which you guys certainly are. And so you had mentioned something that was key there. You said that audit, right?
Right.
When we look at that, then, and we say, okay, so, you just mentioned some amazing things there. It was, we really got to look at it and say, what is the cost of this? What is the cost of really making this happen from a time and a money perspective? What is that perception it's going to have of me out there? How's it going to change how I carry and I do my business? And what little effects does it have all the way across, like business cards and feature sheets and signs and websites and social media and everything else? So it's not just turn on the light switch.
No.
What is that? What does that audit look like? What does that step-by-step process look like for somebody if they decided, I'm thinking about this, like, yeah, this is a great topic today because, this was muddling around in my mind. What would we say to them there?
Well, it's interesting because I truly believe that everyone should take a self audit. So, if I was going to audit, my personal brand, and how I'm seen, from people's eyes, I definitely would probably start with a Google search. I'd search my name, I'd see what's coming up. So if someone didn't know me, and if I was a realtor, or someone saw my sign and they Googled me, that's typically what people are going to do. So I would actually Google myself and then take a look at what a consumer would see as they're going through that process. And sometimes it's hard because it's a little bit hard to kind of self-audit our own self, because we might think we look contemporary, but not necessarily do we look contemporary and relevant out there. So then I'd probably reach out to some business colleagues that I trust. I would probably reach out to some friends, and I would ask them, I'd probably send them a few links, and I would just ask them, what they think, what do they feel that I'm trying to convey? What are the key messages they think that I'm trying to deliver? And then see what their response is, and then really determine, is that really what I was trying to deliver? Is that really how I'm trying to come across? So you can see it with a little bit of fresh eyes. And I know sometimes friends are, again, they know you really well, so they're going to see things differently. And that's why I probably, incorporate some business colleagues into that mix, just because they see you a little bit differently. But I would get some feedback from, let's just say, some select people from your sphere of influence to give you some feedback, and people who are going to tell you the truth, and people that you can trust. And I think that's a good process, because that will really show you kind of your key opportunities.
Okay, so now we've gone out, we've asked, we've had this thought. Our starting point, and I love it, is just go Google yourself, figure out what you actually look like. I think like anything in life, it's hard to step out of our own shoes. And I would say on a personal level, first of all, it's always difficult, but it is something that I try to keep in the back of my mind anytime we're going to try to start up a new campaign, but be it for us, be it for our clients, is let's step into their shoes. And guys, I mean, for everybody listening and watching, this could come right down to negotiations, right? Step into their shoes and start to understand, how are they looking at you? What are they seeing from you? What are they hearing from you? You've got one way it's processing up here, but what might be coming out, what everybody's seeing may be very, very different. So I've had the thought, I've Googled myself, I've seen what I find. I've now found some colleagues and some friends who are going to tell me the blunt, honest truth, not the, oh my God, you look great, that's amazing, right? You're going,
right,
do anything here. But no, I've asked people, and people are starting to come with feedback. And so something I might hear is, I don't like your colors, or, I don't like that photo, or, I think you need a new logo. And I mean, now that's getting into some specifics around feedback, because you might go, well, I love blue. What do you mean I can't use blue? And they're like, well, I think, green might be better. And you're like, I hate green. Right.
Right.
But what do you do with this feedback? Where do you go next with that? You've got it. So you know that you're kind of thinking about it. You've asked people about it. You know what you see from it. Now you got the feedback. Now what?
Right. So I think it's really important, because I know a lot of times we're communicating via, Facebook Messenger, through Instagram, through email, through text. And I think it's really important, as you say, if you sent out something to ask for some feedback and they've sent you some written feedback, I think it's really important for you to understand what that feedback means. So for instance, someone writes, I don't like blue. Well, what about blue don't you like? So I would probably, if I needed to, I'd probably get on the phone and talk through some of these answers with them, because, for instance, blue, they might think, oh, blue is a kind of a colder color. And Chiyoko, you're so warm, and so it doesn't really suit your personality. Well, that gives me better feedback to go on versus just subjective, I don't like blue. So I'd probably look into that feedback a little bit more deeper in order to come up with some, some thoughts moving forward. So let's just say go through that process, and then I would kind of look at all that, and I would say, okay, this is the current reality. So you're going to start to see themes through everything. You'll be able to determine 3 or 4 themes that people are feeling about you. And then you can determine kind of what your future kind of perception or brand perception wants to be. And then you can identify any kind of key gaps. So you've got your current reality, you have where you want to go, and now you can develop some plans in order to get there. It might not be completely overhauling your personal brand, right? It might just be on the information that you're sharing with people, or the way that you're, portraying yourself. Maybe you're always just doing, just for instance, video, because I love video, but you're only doing videos of open houses or listings, and they want to see the person behind that, right? And so maybe it's just the way that you're presenting yourself versus necessarily your overall brand personality. So I think it's really determining what's needed, and then you can develop kind of more of a tactical plan and how you go about achieving that. Because again, it might not be a total revitalization of your brand, but it might just be some tweaks here and there in order to get you to where you want to be. So it's important to identify those goals, your vision, where you want to be, set those priorities, and then kind of develop a plan in order to help you get there.
Okay, so that's awesome. So I mean, I'm finding out all this stuff. So are there specific questions when I reach out to people and I say, hey, like, let me know, give me some feedback? Are there specific questions I should ask people? Should I say, like, what do you think about, or just tell them to go and just give feedback? Like, should I lead them down a road or no?
You know what? I guess it's up to you. If you've already heard some feedback from people, it's hard to say. Because every situation is different. If you've heard some feedback from people and there's a real kind of narrow path that you want to pursue a little deeper, then you might want to lead some of the questions to figure out specific information back. But I think that if you're just doing this from scratch, maybe it's just like, take a look at these links, make it as easy as possible for them, because we know everyone's super busy. But you can say, take a look at these few links and just tell me, what you're getting from that. Give me 10 bullet points and some of the feelings that you're getting from me, and tell them what you're trying to do too, right? So they understand the context, and maybe they'll provide a little bit more deeper feedback than just kind of one-liners. But it's really hard to say, because it's so different from everybody, and it depends how much feedback that you're getting on a regular basis. Because I think that's always important. Like you always get feedback for us to improve and move forward.
I like it, because I mean, I think in the context of even, the bigger idea around building brand, one of the most important things that really comes together, especially in today's world, because of technology, online and everything else, and the connections we have, is what we call social proof, right?
Absolutely.
That thing of going, what are other people thinking? What are other people saying? And based on the way it works these days, when, others are saying like lots of positive, well, it really does sort of kind of tick your score into the positive section rather than the negative section. So now it's coming back and going, okay, what are all these people really thinking about, and what is that underlying theme? And I love what you said about goals and vision, kind of analyze where you are today, but where do I want to be? What am I trying to achieve here? What am I getting to? So I've got all this feedback and I've really got this process. Where do I go? I mean, graphic designers, they can be expensive, or I don't know if he or she does a great job, or do you have somebody? Like, what would be my next step in that process to start coming to life? So I've heard maybe, Dave, we love when you wear a hat, or maybe not. We like black, or we like blue, or we love the logo, or we don't. What are some of the things maybe I'm going to do now in terms of my next step to kind of start going into that execution stage?
Right. Well, again, I can't reinforce the importance of putting things on paper. So, kind of starting to put your pen to paper, defining what your kind of positioning statement is, or what your personal mission statement is, so you can be clear on what kind of brand personality you're trying to create. And then again, putting together a plan and how you go about doing that and achieving your goals. I think that yes, graphic artists are expensive, website designers are expensive. And, what I would recommend, of course, is, if you want to be as efficient as possible with your budget, belonging to a brand that provides all of this for you. So I know at Century 21, we provide everything that agents need in order to be successful. So they don't have to go out and hire graphic artists, and they don't have to go out and hire website designers. They get a customizable website. They get a whole bunch of business card designs, yard sign designs, property feature sheet designs, everything for them. So they actually don't have to incur that cost. So I think it's more about, kind of determining on how you're presenting yourself out there in the marketplace, right? It's not just about the tangible business cards and yard signs. Yes, that's important, but it's really about the information you're giving and the way that you're presenting yourself, again, on your website, on your social media channels, in person, everything that you do in order to create that brand personality for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense, because no, it's great, because I would tie that back actually to a Mindshare video. I believe it was the one I released this week on Monday, but around what is value, right? And what kind of value are you giving back out to the world? Because again, you could think that the color and the beautiful little logo you got and all this brand image and you got the business cards and the letterhead, you could think it's all beautiful, but people need to really tie into that. So this comes down to value. And what value you're providing. And I mean, one thing I said with the 4 things that you can do to provide value are out there are motivate people, educate people, inform people, inspire people, right? And what are you doing to provide that value? And one thing that we did in the Mindshare Challenge several months ago in one of our Mindshare challenges, and we sort of carried this through, and because it was really interesting, we asked people, what do you like the most to do to get business? What do you hate to do to get business?
Yeah.
And where do you see most of your business come from? And one of the things we found interesting was, and naturally speaking, most people are always going to say referrals, are a great source of business. I know most people here are going to drop their jaws when I say this, but a lot of people are saying open houses and cold calling, as well as door knocking is a phenomenal source. And I've been doing this a long time. I will tell you, for the thousands I've asked the questions to, people are seeing a ton of business from those channels. But one thing that struck me that was interesting was people did not like giving away free value. They did not like hosting seminars. And it was this idea of, where am I getting paid? I'm not really seeing the return on that. And I really want to state today, like, it's important for everybody to acknowledge or to understand, internalize this, that if you're going to try to build a brand, it is not simply about, a logo, a set of colors. It's not about that. I mean, that's a piece of it. But this really comes back to, and again, I'm going there, but this comes back to building mindshare. It's that top of mind, intuitive, instinctive reaction to a product or a service, and essentially to you and your business. Are people thinking about you first when they think about what you do for a living? And then if they are, is that a good thought or a bad thought? So what have you done to sway that? So now I come back to what I said a moment ago there, of not really liking to give away free value. It's important that we think about, we need to be giving free value every single day to people. We need to be out there again and motivating, inspiring, educating, and informing people about something.
Right.
The more you can do that, the more your brand is going to start to trickle into people's minds in a very positive way. And now your letterheads and business cards and everything you might have used, either the marketing department, and C21's always had an absolutely amazing best-in-class toolbox. And or if you go to a graphic designer, it's that idea of, now at least you've got, like you said, you've got it on paper. You know how you carry yourself and what you're doing in a positive light. Now all this stuff is simply support material.
Absolutely.
So then looking at that, I'd ask you there, that idea around building mindshare, around getting the word out there, what do you suggest they do to get that message across on a regular basis? Like, what channels should they be using? What do you suggest as effective marketing tools that they should be doing or using to build mindshare on a regular basis?
Right. Well, in the real estate industry, we know one of the best marketing tools is the yard signs out there, right? So it's really important that, especially on the Century 21 side with the new brand, is that they do spend the money investing into the new yard signs, right? I think it's really important. Again, if you're trying to convey a contemporary relevant image to the marketplace, and this is kind of a rejuvenation for yourself, is make sure that your yard signs are up to date. So no matter what brand you are with, make sure your yard signs and your photos are kind of up to date. Because I think one of the key things too is, sometimes you're using a photo of 20 years ago.
I was just going to say, that one's not okay to use anymore.
Yeah, I think we all know that we like to use photos from the past, but it's really important that you just use relevant current information, whether it's, information on your website, so your bio, the awards you've won, the photo that you have on your social media profiles or on your website, but make sure all of that is current. I do, of course, recommend getting very active in social media. I think a lot of people, specifically homeowners, if you're in residential, because commercial is totally different. And I've been speaking to the commercial agents, and it's a very different kind of area. But with residential, it's really important for you to be active on your social media channels and not just pushing out content, but being engaging, as you said, educate. These realtors they are specialists in this industry, right? If you're a homeowner, you know nothing about buying or selling, even if you've done it before, right? It's not kind of your area of specialty. So this is the area of their specialty, right? As you say, share that information. You don't have to give away too much so you're thinking, oh my gosh, no one's going to call me. But I think positioning yourselves as thought leaders in the marketplace is really, really important, especially because you want to position yourselves as that local expert and the expert in the real estate industry. So, get on there, share some tips. You can ask people, trying to get that engagement on your social media channels. I know you're a big supporter of video. I'm a big supporter of video, but I think you need to maybe overcome the obstacle of doing some video. And I know that you had, I think, Alicia David on your show talking about how to overcome that obstacle. And I think that
she was on the, yeah.
Yeah. So, definitely people should watch that podcast, because I think it's a really good idea, because the world is moving towards video, right? So either you're jumping on or you're not going to jump on. And so I know it's intimidating to everyone, but I definitely think that they should start small and then grow from there, right? Nobody's comfortable doing video for the first few times. You do it more often, you get more comfortable, and that's how it goes. But definitely, again, making sure all of your touch points, websites, yard signs, business cards, all that's up to date, because every touch point that comes into contact with a consumer is really representing yourself and the brand, right? So I would, again, be active on social media. I would get out there and network. So you can go to, different events, whether they're, associations or maybe they're community events, but really kind of get yourself out there and just meet people, right? I know it's, we talk about cold calling, which is, going door to door, but if you're in Starbucks, waiting in the lineup to get your Starbucks, you can start engaging with people, right? Giving that opportunity, like, kind of walk around, like you want to create every person that you meet, you want to create a raving fan of yourself and of the brand. And I think that's really important, just being open and excited about what you do and kind of sharing your knowledge with everyone.
Oh, I love that point. Because so that's the idea then, that passion, right? Like I that's one thing, again, I talk a lot to people about, is like, you've got to wear that like right there on your chest.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't mean physically, glue your logo to your chest. I mean, just, when you're in that lineup at Starbucks, instead of one of these, blah, 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 blah. Okay, thank you. And walk away. Engage that person at the counter. Engage the person that's behind you. I mean, I look for hey, I'm a Leafs fan, and everybody knows it, right?
Yeah.
But the minute I see somebody wearing a Montreal Canadiens shirt, I look at them like, hey, what happened to your shirt? Bang. They know I'm a Leafs fan. They're either going to look at me and be really pissed off and like insulted, which most people wouldn't be. Most people actually chuckle, shrug it off, and you start to get into conversation. So it's what can you do to pick up sort of on little things, or just wear a smile on your face all day, even if inside you may not be smiling that day. Remember, this is about getting your brand out there. This is about the perception people have about you, not what that business card looked like.
Absolutely. I think, David, you hit the nail on the head. It's about, wearing merchandise, right? So, if I was to get like a, contemporary jacket, with a new Century 21 brokerage logo on it, and I'm standing in line at Starbucks,
right?
Everybody is interested in real estate industry. Everybody wants to know what's happening in the marketplace. What are prices going to do in the future, right? So if they see Century 21 and you're standing there, chances are, like, if you give them a big smile, they're going to see your logo on your jacket and start talking to you, asking you questions. That gives you an opportunity to talk and be passionate about the industry and be passionate about yourself and the value that you can bring to anyone. So I think that gives as you say, that's a really good thing. And sometimes it's just that the most interesting places that people sometimes jump to, what do you do? Like, and so you'll be surprised sometimes just by engaging someone that they might say, what do you do? Right? Just because, again, it's an easy question for them to ask to engage back, right? Because sometimes we're a little bit, shy in how do you talk to a stranger. And so, it's amazing. Even myself is sometimes I'm just, whether I'm at the gym or somewhere, people just jump to the, what do you do? And if I was a realtor, I'd get right into that, right? Because then it just becomes interesting to them. Again, we've got the most exciting industry there is. Everybody wants to know about it. Everybody wants to engage, and everybody has questions. So it's a perfect way to engage with people.
Well, everybody's got a roof over their head, right? So there's certainly something to talk about there. And it could be, and again, I'm also going to encourage people. I mean, let's say you're in that lineup and you are wearing that jacket, as you should be, and people ask you a question about real estate. Sure, you can answer it. But instead of going down that business road of, why would you like to sell your house? Engage on a passionate level, engage on a fun, just inviting level. Don't go for the entire kit and caboodle right there on that conversation. Go for just making that connection point where somebody realizes, hey, it's easy to talk to this person. Oh yeah, I'm on Facebook. Oh, I got to show you this video of this hockey move or something, right? It's got nothing to do with what we do for business, but now we're connecting on a personal level. We found something that will relate us back to each other, that we can continue to converse on. They're going to continue to be exposed to what you do. And now in time, you give yourself that opportunity, maybe, to be the person you think of, right?
Well, and we talked, just to interrupt you for a second, but not to interrupt you.
No, it's good. It's good.
We talk about first impressions, right? And how quickly people can get an impression of you for the first, I don't even know what the stat is, but probably the first 10 seconds that someone can truly understand. So again, if you're in that Starbucks lineup and you engage with someone, they ask you something about the industry and you can show your value, even if you have to run, because you got a meeting to go to, you can hand them a business card going and big smile on your face going, it was really nice to meet you. If you ever have any other questions, give me a call. I'm totally, willing to, answer any questions you have or talk to you more. It's been really a pleasure. Have a great day, right? That type of thing. And it just, then you leave and they go, wow, that was a really nice person, very engaging, very warm, very knowledgeable. And I think that's really important, right? And because people go, I don't want to talk because I got to run. Well, you can talk and run.
Well, that's the thing. And everybody's too busy all the time, right? But there's that first impression that you just made that could take it into another opportunity. And everybody's got to, again, realize this opportunity may not be today, tomorrow, this week, next month, this year. This could be in a little while down the road. But I ask you to think about, if that person was going to do something, would you want them to do it with you? And if the answer is yes, which it should be yes, then to be preparing ourselves for that moment and how we carry ourselves there.
Card that might not have your social media.
Yeah, no, it's okay. My computer did something silly, but I think we're still online here. We're all good. The thing to think about here then, right, is when we look at the 7 different ways to communicate with another human being, one thing we want to ensure that we're doing is that we are always, out there using the 7 different channels. We're out there communicating with people. We are out there doing those things. We're back. We are out there doing those things, though, that really connect us. And so, again, thinking about the 7 ways to communicate and thinking about, video, like you've mentioned. And a lot of people are scared about video, but they're like, don't be shy about video. It is incredibly, incredibly powerful. We talk about even, voice marketing or social media, interacting with people in person. One thing that's been getting me lately is this conversation around lead gen. And don't get me wrong, I get it, and I understand the terminology. And for everybody listening, I'm normally just poking fun. I understand lead gen. However, we've got to think about what is one of the most effective ways to lead gen in a day. It's to do exactly what Chiyoko just mentioned, is when you are out physically in person with people, is to put on that passion, wear it on your chest, and make sure people understand what you're about, who you are, and that you're just an open, friendly person. So it's to me, it's just a big deal. Like, connect with people one-to-one. It's so real, and it's so much more powerful than, that random person that might have tapped onto a website. And again, take advantage of those and have the right processes for those and everything else, but get out there and talk to people, right?
Absolutely.
Really. So What do you see then as, I guess, one of the biggest challenges that people are facing around the idea of branding?
I think one of the biggest
Anything.
I think one of the biggest challenges to most people, again, it's, kind of getting over that change. So some people can leap there, like they're like, I love it, I'm going there, and they embrace it, and they embrace change. And other people are maybe not as comfortable. So I think the first obstacle would be like, okay, I'm open to change, I'm embracing change, we need to move forward, we can't just rest on our laurels all the time. And so I think that's the first obstacle. And then we truly think that the next obstacle is tends to be cost, right? So, gosh, I have to, create new yard signs, I have to print new business cards, I have to do all of these things in order to update all of the pieces. And I think the great thing is, because we live so much online, is that it's easy to change everything online, right? The digital stuff is easy, no cost. Maybe again, if you have to hire a graphic artist, maybe to do some of that you can, but these days you have programs like Canva if you don't want to do hire a graphic artist. So there's a lot of things that you can do yourself if you put the time in, right? It's just all of those hard costs that seems to be a little bit of a barrier. But again, you have to realize that you need to invest into the future, right? Into your future success, not just look at today, right? It's like, okay, invest into something that's going to be 20 years moving forward, not something that's going to do it overnight. And I think that, again, when you're talking about lead generation, instead of looking at the costs, this is my revenue this year, and these are my costs, and now I have all these additional costs. Why don't you go out and take that revenue even higher, right? Look at things like, as we talked about, lead generation. Let's go out and get more clients, right? So we can overcome those costs. So at the end of the year, your basic profitability, once you take all your expenses away from the revenue that you're getting, is going to be the same, right? That's how, I think you can go about, offsetting some of those costs, is bringing in new business and doing things differently that you might not have done before. And you named some of those things, right, that people can do in order to attract new clients.
And that's the idea. And I mean, I would say that, and as I say, but again, branding is the overall you. It is that higher level of you. It includes everything. It's not just the logo, not just the colors. It's not just the photos. It's everything that helps you get to that part of success, like you just mentioned. So, hey, Chiyoko, you love to work out. You seem to always be smiling. Okay. So But seriously, living a happy and a healthy life takes dedication, it takes focus, and it takes consistency.
Right.
What role does consistency play in the success of all of this branding stuff?
Brand consistency is probably and we can talk about personal brand, right? Personal brand consistency, and consistency in your messaging and your tone and your colors is super, super important. Because with that, you are creating kind of a perception of who you are as a realtor. And with that perception, if you're consistent and pushing the same kind of tone, values, image, everything out there into the marketplace, that's what you get known for, right? And then when people see the stuff that you're pushing out down the road, they'll quickly be able to get kind of, what your brand stands for and who you stand for as a person. So it's really important to be consistent, because, you can, and again, you can take any brand out there, and the key to their success and longevity is always consistency. And so I think you take the same lessons learned from these big organizations and you just apply it to yourself. It's really important. I don't want to, everything that the person does, you just want to be consistent. It's a consistent message, because again, going back to that piece of paper, you've made a conscious decision on how you want to position yourself, right? And you just want to stick to that positioning. And then people will just get to, again, because it'll be repetitive, people will just get to know you, and then they'll be able to do a really quick read when they see things coming from you. So I think that's really kind of the key benefit of consistency is having that, and just, being aligned with some of your key messaging.
Absolutely, and key messaging, and I think that's a big deal. I would add on to that, it's across all channels, right? So if I see your biz card, your sold sign, it should look the same photo, the same logo, the same color. If I see your feature sheets, if I see your I mean, anything that you've got that's out there. I mean, I could go down a mile-long list of different things, but it gets me sometimes when I do get to your website and I look at your business card and they're different. I see your email signature and it's different, right? Remembering the way you live and what you do every single day is definitely at the top of this entire list, because again, if you can't do that part properly, I really don't care how nice your logo is. Again, logos and colors are all supporting this thing over here. So
Right.
now it's a matter of what is that tiny little thing that I'm going to remember about you that's going to trigger my mind. And I can get deep into the whole neuromarketing part of the world here, but the idea is, what's that little thing that's going to trigger my mind that when I hear your name or see your logo or whatever, that goes bang, right? And that comes from consistency.
Absolutely. And again, as people, just a little tip, as people are going through that process, it's really, I think, important to basically make that long list of every single touch point. So you have to actually go through and rack your brains and look at every single touch point, from anything that's online to, again, your yard signs, business cards. Like, as you say, all the channels, all the touch points need to be consistent. So sometimes we forget, I forgot that my website doesn't look like everything else. So start to make that list, and then you can go through each one and attack it, right? I think that's important, is to make that list. Again, putting pen to paper and really making sure that you cover all of those touch points and all of those channels in order to create a specific image for yourself and be consistent with that image moving forward.
Yeah, take an inventory. A great point. Take an inventory of what you have, list it, and that goes back to the step-by-step process we talked about a few minutes ago around what do I do next? I've thought about it. I've got my feedback. It's time for implementation. Where do I start? And you said put pen to paper. Guys, I don't care if it's your notes on your phone, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, or if it is a pen on paper. Go through and itemize everything, because I'm going to tell you now, there are things you're not going to think about that are hiding out in the background that are going to drive you nuts. Okay. Anyhow, so that is huge. I think that anybody listening, that has totally helped anybody understand how to rebrand themselves, or even if they're starting off building a brand. But it helps everybody understand now what they should be thinking about when that idea of branding comes up, right? And I believe everyone will be walking away from this episode knowing the step-by-step process for rebranding themselves and their business. So I do want to switch gears.
Before we switch gears, can I just say one other thing?
Absolutely, please.
I just want to make sure that everyone watching this podcast or going to watch this podcast, I think it's really important that when we say brand, we don't necessarily mean a logo, because I know sometimes there's, for individual realtors, they're coming up with their own individual logo, but they belong to kind of a national brand. And I think the thought process is, well, I need to brand myself. And to do that, I have to come up with my own logo. And, so sometimes you see all of the, advertising for realtor, and, you see all this, and then you see the brokerage logo. Other than, yes, the associations have some guidelines that you need to follow. I think it's important for people to understand that you can actually build your brand. So let's just say the Century 21 brand. At the same time, you build your personal brand. So you don't actually necessarily have to come up with your own logo, right? So you can build a brand, leverage all the credibility that comes with a national brand that's been around for a long time, and then start to build your personal brand with regards to personality. Because the one thing is that people these days, and I think we're talking about authenticity, people want to connect with people, right? So you've got the brand supporting you, and of course there's good feelings with the brand, but it's your personality. It's people want to connect with you, right? So you don't have to worry about creating logos and doing all these things. Look at your brand as how you're coming across, right? Through video, through the words that you're writing on social media, or through emails. It's not necessarily kind of all the creative, because I know sometimes when we think brand, people think, oh, look, I got to create my own logo. Well, no, you don't. You just need to, as you say, give value out there to the marketplace, whether it's on social media or some other avenues. So I just want to make that clear, because I do think that sometimes, and again, putting teams aside, because teams is something a little bit different, right? Because you're talking to a group of people, not someone individual. But I'm really a big supporter, as if you belong to a national brand or, a brokerage, it's okay to use that brokerage logo and then just promote yourself. You don't have to come up with this kind of more interim logo. Because again, these days you want to simplify, right? Everybody likes simplification. They don't want to see a lot of words. They don't want to see a lot of things. The simpler, the better, right? And so I think that's just important to note before we close up this section.
No. I really love that you stepped in and said that, because that's something that I've been saying to people for a long time. When you look at the idea around building that brand, and you look, I here, scenario, okay? I'm driving down the street, sign says 40, I'm going 40, and I see the sold sign or the for sale sign, and I'm driving down, and there's maybe a few of them on that street. Which one is the one that I'm going to remember? It's probably the one that already has built that mind share out there. For example, like the national brand Century 21, where I recognize what I know who and what Century 21 is. Like, you don't have to tell me. I don't need to Google that. Any almost, I'd say, Canadian homeowner would know Century 21. But then if I've got like David Greenspan, whatever, and that's the most prominent thing there is, and there's different color schemes, as somebody's driving down the road and they're looking at that, what's their perception? What was the name? What was the phone number? Who? I'm not turning
Who is this
around.
person?
I'm not turning around. I'm going to keep driving, right? And it's those little tiny moments. Like you said, you've only got about 10 seconds to catch. I'm going to say it's usually you've got 3 seconds to catch someone's attention. How are you going to use those 3 seconds wisely? We barely say our names in 3 seconds. I mean, hell, I barely say mine in 10 minutes. But it's that idea around, right? What is that quick, intuitive reaction, that instinctive reaction to when they see it? And when you look at a national brand and you leverage the colors and you leverage the logo, that as a person, I don't even know who you are at this moment. You've already got an automatic sort of trust factor that's been built. Right? Like, I know you're real. I know you're reputable. I'm sure if I looked you up online, I'm going to find you working, let's say, for Century 21. It's going to be right there. It's easy. But then if there's that other separate set of logos and colors, I mean, again, a lot of people are going down that road. But guys, the amount of time and effort, I love the fact that you brought this up, the amount of time and effort and money you've got to spend getting that out there, it doesn't happen overnight. And I'm sorry, you're not going to beat out a brand like Century 21. Not into the average homeowners. Right. You guys as a corporation, as a company, have already embedded that in people's minds for how many years? You said 43 or something like that?
43 years. Right? You're right.
Like, hey, word to the wise, everybody here, you're 43 years behind. Right. And you don't have the power and the muscle these guys have. So I love the fact that you brought that up. I'm sorry, I could probably spend an hour going off about that. So I'm going to digress on that one. But yeah, no, definitely an important point to bring up.
Great.
So I want to hear more about conference.
All right.
I know there's going to be a lot of people there. I know firsthand what kind of party, what kind of conference that Century 21 puts on, what you guys host. It's absolutely awesome. I remember Quebec City was a blast. Like, I'm sitting here like, let's go, let's do it now. But please tell us more about the event. Like, can you share some of the high level exciting things that are going on? I don't want you to give too much away, but some stuff, maybe, you get some people excited about this thing.
Absolutely. So first exciting thing is you're going to be there.
Yeah! Wait a second. Let's hope that nobody says, whoa, that guy. No, I'm joking.
David, we're super excited to have you as kind of our host for the 3 days, because you bring an extra level of energy to the conference, and I'm super excited, and I know we're going to have some fun. So that's the first exciting thing, and I know that we've been posting it on social media, and people have been so excited that you're going to be there. So thanks so much again.
I am humbled, and I am grateful, and I thank you. Seriously, I really do thank you guys, all of you, for your confidence.
That's great. Some other great things is, of course, we have a keynote speaker for the first day. So the dates are September 18th to 20th. So on the Wednesday, we have John Montgomery, who is going to be joining us. And for those people that watch Amazing Race Canada, which I do, I might not catch every episode, but I definitely watch Amazing Race Canada. He's going to be joining us talking about realism and innovation, which is perfectly in line with what people are going to see over the 3 days, because we are super excited about the innovation of Century 21. And, this new brand was one example, but people are going to see a whole bunch of things launched at that single kind of touch point of that consumer experience. And I think that's really going to be exciting. So I'm super, super excited about doing that. And we at Home Office have been working really hard in order to make sure that we're providing the tools and the materials to make an agent successful in growing their business. And I was thinking, David, because John's going to kind of be there. We should.
Sorry, I wanted to. By the way, I've been watching The Amazing Race because you guys told me you have to do it. I'm kind of hooked now. It's yeah.
So I was thinking, because you're up for anything, and I know you are. Yeah. Is that you should fly into Vancouver, and then we should try do an Amazing Race to Victoria. So I was thinking we could start off with $21 or something, and see how far we can get with $21.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
Wouldn't it? Yeah. I think it would be fun. And we could just run with our backpacks and
Wait a second now. I know you like to run. Me, I'll skate, I'll ride, but the whole running thing, I don't know. It's a little too much work.
Well, if we can buy bikes for $21, then we can ride.
I love it, eh? Oh, that's cool. It sounds like it's going to be a blast. So we've got John Montgomery there. We've got some awesome announcements. I know that, but
we've got again, the announcements on the technology, and again, all the marketing materials, and we're going to walk through the customer journey and show ways that we can elevate that, because it's all about kind of delivering the gold standard, right? That's our mission, is to define and deliver the gold standard. And so we're going to show everyone what they can do in order to elevate the consumer experience, creating those wow experiences. So then they will go on and tell their friends and families, and the person will get referrals. Again, that's one way to lead gen, is through the referral program. So we're going through from the beginning to the end of the experience, and we're going to show a whole bunch of stuff on what they can do in order to elevate that consumer experience. So we're excited about that. The other thing is we've got breakout sessions. So deciding on what you want to do, whether it's you want to know more about video or social media, or you might want to be part of a team moving forward. We've got all these breakout sessions that are taking place the next day, so you'll have a whole bunch to choose from, and I think that's exciting. And then there'll be some general sessions, and of course we have a party, which is super fun. And the idea actually came from one of our agents in our Century 21 family. But we are having a black and gold masquerade party. We're calling it 50 Shades of Relentless Gold. It's going to be fun.
I think that's the only part with that mask that I'm not looking forward to. No, joke.
People are already thinking about it, and there's lots of chatter, lots of interaction around this. So again, just having some fun, giving, we have a connection hub that has all of our suppliers and our partners part of that. We have networking tables. Again, it's just a chance to get to know other people from the Century 21 family from coast to coast, and really kind of share best practices, right? And I think that's one of the exciting things. We have people that come every year to conference. They build that into their business plan, because they build business from coming to conference. And so I think it's a time not only to learn and get educated from industry leaders, as well as other learn about all the things that are happening at Century 21. It gives you a chance to develop those relationships. So if someone is looking for, or someone trying to help a client, relocate in your market, they will think of you, right? It's all we go about, top of mind awareness, or, share of mind share, is that is one way to get that mind share with realtors, right? It's to be a part of the conference and to network with other realtors in the system.
Well, that's, and I know that everything from, again, what I experienced firsthand back a couple of years ago, we had the entire city shaking. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, from the learning, the Canadiana party that night. I mean, it was, when you talk about the theme and people getting really into it, phenomenal. Most of all, I think that the culture that I had experienced as I kind of consider myself an insider, but I'm still not obviously a C21er, you know what I mean? So being from the outside, kind of looking in and kind of being there with you guys, so being on the inside, the culture is phenomenal. And I said this to Tracy the other day, Tracy Anderson, and she had asked me the question around, why C21? Because we're really excited to help you guys with this whole thing with, by doing the Mindshare Challenge is this whole idea of being able to, help people understand why the brand, and then take that brand and take everything else and build more mindshare, build your brand out there, connect with people, generate more business, have better habits for success every single day. And so I'm really pumped to help you guys in sort of the execution of all of this going forward and getting people thinking about it. And she asked me, she said, why C21? And, the thing that came to mind was, every time I talk to you, and I talk to Barb and Brian and Todd and like everybody there, Trace, Lee, Gary, so many people I'm missing, but every time I talk to you guys and I'm asking you guys certain questions and I'm thinking through what I'm trying to get out of you, just in terms of like, why am I asking that? But every time I ask it, every answer I get is it's always about the agents. Mm-hmm. And so, I've asked certain things about, whatever the details aren't important, but, what about this? Well, the agents. What about that? Well, the agents. And I'm going, wow, like this is not about, this hierarchy in any sense of the word of corporate or leadership or whatever, agents. And this is like everybody together. And you guys as a corporate team, always looking out for, your people, the people that are on the street, the ones that really build this business, that bring it together. And so the culture for me has been absolutely phenomenal. And once again, I can't say how grateful I am and humbled I am about, around the confidence that you guys have in David, in Mindshare, and just me being able to be a part of this whole thing. Because I am so excited. Like, I'm getting excited just talking about this thing right now. Like, I know there's so much going on beforehand, like in terms of work, between the challenge, between the sessions going on there. Your marketing teams have done a ton of work, but all of that, like, I can't wait to get there already. Like, are we there yet?
I know.
Victoria better brace themselves, right? Because like, we're coming.
And again, I'm like you. I wait for this every single year. I get so excited. I'm so excited to see, everybody that I know from the Century 21 system. And and again, we're really excited for you to be there. And we're really, I'm very thankful that you can feel the culture when you talk to us. Yeah. Because you're right. We are so focused on helping our agents be successful and doing whatever we can. And that's our number one priority. We say, at Century 21, we're agent centric, but we truly mean that. I'm so glad that you actually feel that and you get the sense of that, because again, in our hearts, we're passionate about that. And so that's wonderful to see.
Well, this has been amazing, Chiyoko. I am grateful for you taking the time to even be here with me today on the Mindshare podcast. So once again, I just want to say thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in just a few weeks.
Oh my God, I'm excited. So you're listening to this on iTunes, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever podcasts are available. Or maybe you went to industrysyndicate.com or even mindshare101.com. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at DavidGreenspan101. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thanks everyone for listening.